Welcome, everyone, to the Awakened Mother Show. This is a show where I bring on people that are actively engaged in making really strong changes in the world. So just pull up your chair, grab a tea or a coffee or water and your journal, because especially today, we are going to really go into some really important topics for you to know so that you can take care of your family. I'm really, really honored to have on the show today Steve Jarvis, who is a fifth-generation farmer from East Texas. He grew up in an agrarian family, with his family, Bob Jarvis, being the head of the ASCS Agricultural Office in East Texas, surrounded by dairy, beef, cattle, and row crop farming. He learned from the old timers how to maximize farm production and identify optimal times for planting, pruning, propagating, weaning, and castration using the phases of the moon. He left East Texas and moved to Burns, Colorado to start a fishing and hunting guide service on the Colorado River. And during that time, he helped build the first homes in Vail, Colorado, and then helped local ranchers push cattle out of the Flat Tops wilderness area. He returned to East Texas and started the first range-fed hog operation and helped write the rules for organic meats for the state of Texas. He's going to talk about this because I'm going to ask him about it. He faced a major 7-year health crisis and was sent home from the Mayo Clinic to die at the age of 26. However, through learning biblical truths, nutrient-dense food, prayer, and determination, he healed himself and authored 2 books on healing, which you will have the links to. So he is so amazing. And there's so many different details I want you to know. And what's really important is I want you to know that in late 2024, Steve submitted a U.S. Regenerative Small Farm and Food Act plan for MAHA to create small, sustainable, regenerative agriculture to rebuild and sustain the country's food source for national defense, bring health back to the nation, and strengthen the economy. He and his wife, Lynn, currently manage 120 acres in Idaho, where they've let the ground rest for 6 years and have developed a 1.5-acre garden producing over 3,500 pounds of food annually. He's also mastered the art of butchering, canning meats and vegetables, and rendering tallow for healthy living. He's amazing, and you are going to really learn a lot from him. So please help me welcome Steve Jarvis to the stage. Hi, Steve.
Hello. Thank you for having me. And just so you know, I punch a lot of people in the face in social media, not real life. I have a little scar here. My dog and I were playing fetch last night, and he scuffed me up a little bit. So no, I haven't been in a fist fight, but I am in a lot of fights. I'm in the weather modification fight. I'm in the saving a ranch down in Montana fight. I'm here in a fight to save, America's food, bring back the agrarian culture. So yes, I am in a lot of fights, but not a real one.
Well, I think of it as standing. I think that you're a really powerful stand for the earth. Right? There's people that are called guardians of the earth. There's guardians of the children, and so like you're a guardian of the earth and you stand. And so one thing that I really want to invite people to do as we are having this conversation is to get involved, to really become engaged. This show is called The Awakened Mother Show because it's about my awakening, but it's about people awakening to what's happening locally, globally, in family life, the earth is our it's our mother, it's our family. So if we're not being taken care of, how do you take care of your family? So I really appreciate you and the work that you're doing. So let's back up. So you went through a healing crisis.
I did. Mm-hmm.
Can you say more about that?
Yes, I can. And let me just tell you, so the reason I'm in the weather modification fight, and this will get to that, but the reason I'm in the weather modification fight is because it is personal. So I was working cattle in the Flat Top wilderness area, and I was sprayed by the military in 1989, folks. So now listen, that was before cell phones, that was before computers. and I was trying to convince people that something was going on nefarious and that our military was spraying us. Now, it's a wonder I'm not in a rubber room somewhere, like with a long, like 16-foot beard and drooling out the side of my mouth, because they all, what do you mean? What do you mean the military sprayed you? But
Right.
what's interesting is there was 4 of us up there and we all got deathly ill. I started getting sick, but it didn't really come on full bore till about 1.5 or 2 years later. And then I was literally on my deathbed for 2 years, almost didn't get out of bed. And during that time, well, of course, God has his ways, to using things to help us read the Bible and read ancient history and scriptures and all that stuff. So I was pretty much forced to read when I didn't even read in school. So, being in that position, for 7 years, my background is agriculture and construction. And, being in that position, what I did is I learned how to heal myself. And those books, I've got a book on joy. In the back of that book, there's called the 12 Open Doors. You want to use that as a tool for yourself to just walk through those doors and shut those doors. And that's the number one way that I healed myself.
That's beautiful. That's powerful. So tell me what you mean by the military sprayed me. What is that? What did they spray? Where did they spray? And
well, it was a helicopter, and it was just kind of a mist. And, the ranchers that were riding with me were further away. They went directly over the top of me. Now, my best friend was riding horseback there. He was way ahead of me and a little to the left, and he didn't get direct, but it took him 24 years to get over mental illness. And for me, it was 7 years. The other 2 ranchers, it took them 4 years to get over their illness. But I was sent on a Mayo Clinic, and they had said I had some disease with a name that was like from Africa that was, they'd never seen in humans before, and they had no idea how to treat me. And when I told them I was sprayed by the military, the last day in the hospital, they put me in a room and locked me in there and asked me like 988 questions on why did I do so much drugs. So I was ready to get out of there and go home. I was like, well, if I'm going to go to the bone pile, at least I'm not going to be accused of stuff I didn't do, right?
Isn't it remarkable that you have this firsthand lived experience where you were sprayed, and I'm imagining that your friends also knew that they were sprayed. Where telling what happened, and then they see.
I lost you there for a minute. I don't know if it was me or you. Lost signal there.
Okay, that's weird. You can hear me now?
I can hear you now. There you go.
Okay, I'm back. Well, it's interesting. We're talking about this topic, so we might have some interference, but that's okay. We are going to persevere because this is really important information. Because you talked about the USDA, the EPA, and the FDA. You talked about them undermining the work that you're doing, people that seem like they're on the right side, and then they're undermining it. And then you talked about, I was listening to something where you talked about WMO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the WMO. Most people don't know. And so here's the thing is, what I want to tell your listeners, and if you're on Xanax, you're going to want to double up, because when you want to go down this rabbit hole of information, you're going to be shocked. You got to realize, I was telling people in 1990 that we were being sprayed, and I've been in this fight all this time. Only in the last few months have people believed me. Right? It's like, oh, well, I can believe you now. Yeah. Well, that's the issue. And the issue is that in our government, you have some really good, and RFK is a good guy. He came to my farm. I wrote a farm plan to create 1 million new 40-acre farms. They're actually 120 acres. You farm 40 acres, and the others you run animals on, and you rotate. It's just, they call it regenerative farming. I was on with a buddy of mine in Wyoming, from thefarm.org, AJ Richards, good guy. You want to follow that platform. But let me tell you something. He said, Steve, you got to start using the word regenerative. I said, well, what's regenerative? He said, well, regenerative is when you like farm part of your farm, and then you move animals and you rotate. I said, well, that's just old farming. I said, we've been doing that, for 5 generations, we've been doing it that way. I said, y'all call it regenerative now? Said, yeah, that's what they call it. I said, okay, so I can use that word, but it's just old farming basically. Yeah. And I teach, you can go to sas-usa.com, on sas-usa.com. You go into, that's my online farm school. I'm the only farmer that writes his own moon phase calendar. And yes, I do use the 12 signs of the zodiac. I do teach on a 13-month cycle. Now, my moon phase calendar, what it does, I've put it into the Roman calendar. But what you have to realize is that the sun and moon operate on a 28-day cycle. The old calendar was 364 days. Okay. And it started on April 1st. That's why they call it April Fools. And it's in the month of Abib, and that would be April. And that's the way it used to be. And let's face it, big people in high places, the Rothschilds, those took those away from the church and from the community to understand how to farm according. If you farm according to the old moon phases, it really makes your production really, really high. And so, being in DC, talking to I'm on RFK's coalition and talking. There are people that are in there that have been there forever, and they are not with us. I hate to say that. There's good people in there, and there's a lot of bad people, and that's the problem we have.
Wow. Well, I'm with you. I'll support you. I will continue to hold that in prayer, because I think it's so important for our children and our children's children to have this, to have healthy land and to have food. I mean, glyphosate, Palantir. You mentioned, I saw something about, Bryan Massard. Like, there's all these different trajectories in which it seems like thriving and being healthy is being attacked. And so I'm so happy that you're doing this. I'm so happy that RFK Jr. is allowing and supporting this, as of course he would. And that even in the midst of the people that aren't supporting, there's enough people that believe in this. I believe in the 51% theory. Like, it doesn't have to be 90, it doesn't have to be 100%, but if there's 51%, we can move that needle. So we get to move that. And the only way you can do that is by having a conversation with you and learning what you're talking about, listening from your research and experience. Like, for instance, Palantir, East Texas, the flood. Can you talk about that?
So I'm the guy that blew the cover on that, and I have a great underground team that helps me. I barely can type. I flunked college, and they passed me through high school. So I have these very, very, very intelligent, smart people that are underground that help me and work with me. They just know that I'm a good fighter, and I enjoy that side of it. So I just give them the bits and pieces and wake people up. I'm the guy that blew the cover on Palantir and Rainmaker, doing seed clouding, cloud seeding there in Texas. And what you have to understand is that's what really broke the back, because me and my team wrote the Mystic Bill. The Mystic Bill is to stop weather modification in all 50 states. Montana will lead on this. I have a huge meeting there in Montana. I've already got 25 House Representative Senators on board with this in Montana, and we're going to get all of them on board before this is finished. And so Montana is going to lead this, and it's going to show the states what to do on how to do this. But you have to understand that they dumped 120 billion gallons of water in 50 square miles in 4 hours. Oof. That's twice the amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls. And what that did is it woke everybody up. Everybody's like, there's no way this can happen. And so, 120 billion gallons. And I named the bill. We were almost finished with the bill 2 days before the flood happened. We just finished up the final draft on it. And when that happened, I named the bill the Mystic Bill, after those girls that drowned.
Yeah. What's really striking to me is how many times humanity has to learn from something that's really tragic, like those little girls. Like, to find out, or somebody, glyphosate, somebody's got to have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or multiple people have to have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for people to go, oh, wait a minute, that chemical that we're spraying on municipal lawns and playgrounds and country clubs and golf courses and, on and on, it's really not good for you. And also on the crops to have glyphosate. I mean, that's just one of there's 3 of them that are really treacherous. And then I heard, you probably know this better than me, I heard that Roundup took out glyphosate and replaced it with a chemical that's almost 3 times as bad. Is that accurate?
Well, I don't know if it's as, it wouldn't matter. What if they just replace it with something just as equal? That's the whole issue.
Right.
But
Right.
the issue is, I'll tell you this, I've stayed out of the pesticide fight because I'm already have enough Goliaths in my battles that I already fight. And listen, there's some great people that are in this glyphosate and pesticide immunity battle and all that. And they've asked me to come in there, and I told them that I wouldn't. And the reason I wouldn't come into the fight, I'm with them 100%, but I don't use those products on mine. So we farm about 10 total acres is what we do. RFK was here at my farm. He went through my potato fields. I don't use those things. And the agrarian culture that I'm recreating in America, we won't use those things. You don't have to. If you just farm the old ways, but chemical is fast. It doesn't need near as much labor. And it's giant ag, basically, is what it is. Small farms don't have to use it if you just farm the old ways.
Wow, that's interesting. I know when I've gone to the farmers markets and I've asked them if they use pesticides, there's a full range. If I go to the organic farm, they're like, yeah, absolutely. If I go to the ones that call themselves sustainable, they'll say something to me like, well, we don't use pesticides, but it takes a while for it to get out of the soil. So we can't claim that we're pesticide free. So you work with other farmers to help them be agrarian and to help them to be regenerative, right? So does it take a couple of generations for that to be out of the soil?
Well, it does, but let me just say this, and what I want to say is I'm trying to get all the organic and the purest people that want to have clean soil and all this. I just spoke to the Heritage Foundation, and Joe Salden was in there. He was speaking as well. Everybody knows who he is. And there were several other really, really great farmers there that are scattered all over the United States. We're probably the top heavy hitters in these subjects. But what I'm trying to do is to show that the weather modification is putting high levels of aluminum in the soil. So nothing is organic, folks. So if you want to say we're going to go organic or we're going to do organic, well, you got to put that conversation on hold until we get this spray stopped over the top of us. Wow. And so I have a letter. There's 25 of the top. These are the frontline doctors. 25 of those wrote a letter for me so that when I go and speak to legislators in states, and the title at the top of the letter says, "Dear legislators, we hear the undersigned are calling for the weather modification to stop. We need you to do this because of," and the thing is, Dr. Ryan Cole was here at my farm, and all these doctors, there's a whole lot more on that list now than there was even just 25 days ago. And what we're doing together is the autism reports and all that's coming out in September. Does everybody know that? And it was, it's 1 in 10,000 children were that way in the 80s, and now it's 1 in 31. Well, aluminum is the biggest factor. So they're teaming up with me, get behind me, and we're joining forces. And I'm doing it on the agriculture from the small ag side, and they're backing me. And that's why legislators are listening to me, because when you hold up names like Dr. Clayton Baker, Dr. Ryan Cole, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, when you start holding up all these names of these big time heavy hitting doctors who were against COVID and the vaccine and all that, when you have those guys on they listen to you because they know that, hey, how's this hillbilly from nowhere got all these on board? But that's the truth of the matter is I know that there's aluminum. Listen, y'all, the reports we have and the stuff we have, you wouldn't believe it. We have a blood blood sample from a horse. You can look it up. Boundary County, Idaho, Priest Lake. We have a blood sample from a horse that died from drinking out of the lake, and aluminum poisoning was number one that killed him.
Oh.
Yeah. So you just, this stuff is everywhere. We have I have access to all the data on the fog in New York City, the fog in Florida, rain samples, snow samples, dirt samples, well samples, everything. And so it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's truth and it's fact. And the thing about it is when you go to dig into this, there's 6 levels to it. And that's the problem. When you start looking at this, you're going, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's that many levels. I can't believe this is what's happening. And that's why, your people, the best thing they can do is they can start a clean skies or a clear skies movement, start a Facebook, start a social media of any platform and do that. And you can go to Missouri Clean Skies and they will connect you. The information they have is all from me and my team and other people. And we start this, we've gone, well, that platform went from 400. I think they're at about 45,000 now, and they're in about 50 states. And we're wanting to do that in every town. That way that we become the posse to what's going on. Because the thing about it is to put in 1 million new 40-acre farms, I told the government this. I said, listen, there's no reason to put in a 1 million 40-acre farms if you're going to allow this aluminum just and all this junk to be coming out of the air on top of it, because it's hard enough to farm as it is. But nothing's organic. Until we get that stopped, nothing's organic.
Wow. So all of the rise, I mean, the rise in autism is staggering. And the I don't know, the push for autism to be normalized. And for anyone who's listening or watching this, in no way am I saying that anybody who's got autism is less of a human being or less lovable or less wonderful or anything like that. What I am saying is that the incidence of children who regress, who present with autism, has skyrocketed. And as Steve is talking about, and as this report coming out in September will reveal, there are causes. And so because there's causes, there are solutions. So Steve, what are some of the solutions that clear skies is one of them, ending weather modification. So what kind of Goliath is the ending weather modification for people, for parents?
Well, here's the thing about it is what you have to understand is they talk about, cloud seeding's different than there's SRA, there's SRM, there's SAI, there's the world meter, the WMO is the World Meteorological Organization. The United States funds them. They work with NOAA, and then that connects to NATO. So, I mean, and these planes can go over the top of us with no rules or no regulations over them. And that's what happens. But what I want to tell moms and parents and out there, listen, I healed myself and I believe you can heal your child. And let me just tell you how to do it. Good food is critical. And, you want to know why there's such a fight against raw milk? Because raw milk removes heavy metals out of your body. And how I know that is I welded for years. And if you're a welder and you're welding galvanized and you get zinc poisoning, you drank raw milk, and in a couple hours you're fine.
Wow.
And I would that's what most people don't know is that welders around the world, if you welded any amount of time at all, they know if you weld galvanized and you get zinc poisoning, it makes you really bad sick, but raw milk will get rid of it in a few hours. And so that they're not going to let that out. Okay. And I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a veterinarian or anything, but I'm just telling you what I know, and fresh foods and things like that for your children. And I'm part of the GWF, which is the Global Wellness Foundation. That's Dr. Group. This team of people are some of the best people. I would get in touch with Dr. Group and the Global Wellness Foundation. They have a website. It's called Global Healing. I would get in contact with them. There's so many things that are working so well for these children that have this, and it's from our environment. It's from the vaccines. It's from all these things, and I believe that you can heal your child.
I agree, and there's nothing more satisfying or gratifying than feeding your child whole foods, healthy foods. I mean, when my daughter was growing up, there used to be a place, I live in California, and there used to be a raw food market. Now the FDA closed it down. And I think the owner did some things that might have contributed to their like being flagged, but the FDA closed it down. And we used to go every week and get raw cheese and raw milk and goat's milk yogurt. And it was so delicious. And it feels so good to give your children and your family really nutrient dense food, which is why farming and farmers are so important. They're really important to our well-being. It's not about exclusion. And what's so fascinating to me when I was listening to you talk was how the DOD and the DOE and national science, it's like it's so incestuous, and it's such a lie to the American people, to the world citizens. Like you were saying, everybody knows about the WHO, but do people know about the WMO in Switzerland? Can you say more about that? Because that one was like for me.
Well, the thing about it is what you have to understand is there's always these 3-letter agencies, and I've learned so many of them in the past few months that I'm almost calling my dog by 3 letters. It's like I can't believe all these exist, but the WMO was the big shocker. I have not met anybody yet. I mean, I've been on Emma Robinson, Jack Posobiec, Real America's Voice, and they don't know about it either. And these are people that talk to everyone. And the WMO is probably one of the most shocking ones for me, is that it's in Geneva, Switzerland, and we're funding them. And they're working, and their main deal is weather modification, and SRM, solar radiation management, HARPA, DARPA. I mean, there's so much to this, and basically it's poisoning our nation and our states. Now, what I do is I write plans to stop things. That's what I do. And so in my Mystic bill, I just spoke in Montana to 2 different groups of people over there, and I was telling them, you don't have to get into the weeds on this of knowing exactly what it is, which plane's doing it, which drone's doing it, forget all that. If I can just encourage your people, this is the number one thing you need to do. You just need to say wherever you are, I so-and-so, and whether I'm in the state of Mississippi or Louisiana, I tell my government, I do not consent for anything to be released over me as pollution. Okay. It's that simple. And that's how you have to phrase it. Because if you say chemtrails, or you say geoengineering, or if you say SRM, or you say SAI, if you say cloud seeding, then they just drag you down this road of, well, scientists prove that that's okay. And you just drag. No, I tell them I don't want dog urine poured out of a kite over me. And if you will get on that page and understand that whatever state you're in, you do not consent, and you have full power and authority. And the states is where we win this, because the federal government cannot shut this off. I'm sorry to tell you all that, but all those agencies, I mean, think about it. The National Science Foundation has $230 million a year given to 130 colleges for 20 years to study geoengineering. Now people say, well, it's not real. Well, then why is there $230 million right there in that one little tiny department? Even the Smithsonian Institute has money for it. It's so huge, folks. It's crazy.
Wow. It is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's so crazy. It's just, I often, I've been part of the health freedom movement for, many years. And I, like I said, I'm a mom, and I birthed my daughter at home with midwives and breastfed her till she was 3 and gave her all like what I thought was organic and sustainably raised, non-GMO, like glyphosate free foods. And sometimes, I have been through these moments where I meet somebody who's got all this information, or I listen to people, and I just sit and I think, this is not the way it's supposed to be. Like, it's not. We're supposed to support one another. We're supposed to help each other thrive. That's what it's about, right? Healthy parents, healthy children, healthy earth, clean air, clean food, clean. And I think, okay, so something is out of balance. And I mean, you're so close to nature. You know that when something is out of balance, it affects everything.
Everything. And actually, the word I use is order. It's out of order.
Right.
And if you bring things into order, things heal themselves, things get well, nations, states, communities get blessed. I mean, bringing things into that order is critical.
Yes.
And being able to see things that are out of order is what's important. And as a farmer, I understand plants and animals. I mean, I don't know how many surgeries on animals myself, but knowing how to do those things and knowing the order of those things matters so much. Yeah. And then that goes into the same thing right now that we're in this fight with Bryan Massard's ranch. I mean, it's so out of order. How is it that the rancher, who is RFK's advisor, has been for the last year? And let me just say this about advising. I've been to DC twice in the last 70 days myself. Bryan Massard's been there probably 12 times in the last year. We're paying for this ourselves. There have people bought my online school, or they buy my Moonface calendar or whatever to support me, but we're doing it. DC is not paying us to consult them.
Right.
We're just the farmers and ranchers. And Bryan Massard's ranch, I didn't know that he was having this problem until about last Tuesday. And he called me and said, listen, my bank's just declined me and said they're not going to refinance his operating capital. And he brings about 7,000 head to market. Well, what most people don't know is 7,000 head is really a small operation. That's not a big operation. Okay. It's still family. But, it takes about $2.5 million to feed those animals and to operate those, to bring those to slaughter. It's a very expensive, and they only sell one time. It's not like you're getting a paycheck every week and they sell one time. Well, that's what's happening is they're cutting his operating capital off. Well, when you cut his operating capital off, pretty much it's going to be over pretty soon. So anyway, that's why I drove to Montana and shot video with him. I was going to be on Real America's Voice next morning, busted that on. That video is all about 77 million on all platforms. You can go to Out of the Wild 3D, go click on my story, and you click on the link there. That takes you straight to Bryan Massard's page.
Okay.
Buy a box. There's a Save the Farm box. It's $100. Buy that to save his ranch. We've done really well in the last few days, but it's not enough so far. So,
thank you. I'll definitely post about that, share about that, email about that. I shared about it. I've been leading a prayer circle. It started during the Kennedy campaign for Bobby, because people kept coming to me and they were really worried about Bobby running for president. So I began a prayer circle, and we're still meeting every Sunday at 5. And it's become more of a, it still includes Bobby for sure, but it's become this community. And I shared with them that I was going to be speaking with you today. And I shared about Bryan Massard's needs. So I will absolutely share, because I think it's so important. And it's so funny. I laugh because I grew up in the suburbs, like the city and the suburbs. I'm not a camper like my husband and daughter. Like, they love camping. It's not like I haven't really experienced the joy and the bliss that they experience doing that. And yet I love the earth. And I love animals and I love people. And I'm like, we have to do this to help each other and to help farmers that are so close to the earth. And I was thinking about this before we got on. And, years ago, I was a publicist in the entertainment industry. And one of my clients was Ava Gabor, and she did Green Acres. And I thought, wow, isn't this kind of like full circle of like her? Do you remember who she is and what I'm talking about? That show about with Eddie Albert Jr. Eddie Albert. So I think about, I have a real passion for this, for us supporting the farmers, supporting Bryan, supporting, Molly and Ryland, and, all the people, Gabe Brown, all the people like yourself that are so close to the earth, that are providing sustenance.
That's right. Yeah.
And
let
it's
me
like,
just say this too about Bryan. Not only has Bryan been RFK's advisor for the last year, Bryan Massard is the rancher that is responsible for the dietary guidelines that have been flipped. That is already done. That's about to be announced October the 2nd. I mean, the food pyramid is being inverted, and this is going to affect every American's health, and it's going to add money to cattle for every person across the United States. So this ranch, not only has he done the advising to RFK, he's the rancher that got the dietary guidelines changed. And let me just say this too about organic versus sustainable.
okay.
I was up there at the ranch with Bryan. We went up to check a spring that he was putting in for watering cattle, and bears had attacked 6 calves. They killed 4 calves, and there were 2 calves that were wounded bad. Now, he gave those 2 calves penicillin. Now, you got to realize this is the middle of nowhere. Right. If you don't give those calves penicillin, those calves are not going to live wounded that bad. It's just not going to happen. And that's what I want to try to talk to people about understanding what is humane to animals and what you need to do if there's a problem. You go to if you're in a car wreck, you're going to go to the doctor, and he's going to give you stuff in your body you probably don't want. But the fact of the matter is, them calves were in a car wreck with a bear, and the bear's probably worse than the real car wreck. Just saying. So you have to doctor these animals. So no, he's not 100% organic, but he wouldn't know, or he would never butcher an animal with antibiotics in it or anything like that. And there's scientifically, there's days to wait and stuff like that, and it'll be a long time before those calves get butchered anyway. But that's the facts that I've got to merge this bridge in order to save this nation, agriculture, with the people that are the purest organic people to those of us that are the sustainable agriculture people that are out here in it every day.
It's a really good point. What about the chicken and cattle that are getting injected with mRNA? You probably, I'm sure you don't do that, but how do you, because that's now in places like Trader Joe's and other stores, and nobody knew about that.
Yeah, so mRNA is in all pork now. All pork in the U.S. is mRNA vaccinated. So unless you know the person who's growing the hog, it's all mRNA vaccinated, all of it. And what you have to realize is like Bryan Massard, he's not giving any mRNA vaccines to his cattle. These ranchers, these old time ranchers have been doing it 30, 40 years. They're not doing that stuff to their cattle. And so that's why you need to support these guys doing this, because so much of this meat now, it's all mRNA vaccinated.
Wow. Just wow. It takes me a minute to process it, because it's just shocking. And again, going back to when you were talking about, I heard you talking about how if we were going to change this, then there would have to be a withdrawing from NATO. You rolled it out, and I was like, I got to get my paper, and like rolled out. You said if we change this, then we have to remove from NATO, and Trump would have to do an executive order. Can you say that again? Repeat what you said.
Okay, so so the states, what I do want to say is that the states can stop weather modification. If we get 33 states to stop weather modification, we can get this done across the entire nation. Okay,
33.
It's states' rights, and the Mystic Bill is what will do that. Now, in order for the federal government to stop weather modification, it's so deeply entrenched. There's 15 agencies. Okay, there's HHS, USDA, the NSF, the Smithsonian, there's NASA, there's all these agencies. They all have money in them, for weather modification. So you would have to get all those to agree to give up their money. And then you have the military industrial complex. So that means all your generals, all your admirals, all your military leaders, they would have to agree to give it up. And then you would have to also get the WMO. You'd have to leave the WMO. And what that means is you would have to leave the UN. Well,
That's
then
right.
if you're going to leave the UN, then what you have to do is you have to leave NATO. We are the North Atlantic Treaty. We did that, set that up with the Baltic states and for Russia. We're not leaving. We're not leaving NATO. Okay, folks, that's not happening. But then Trump would have to do an executive order, and not only that, you would have to have the House of Representatives and the senators. You'd have to have 2/3 or more majority of vote. Do you think that's going to happen, and they're going to give up all these trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that they're at their fingertips? It's not going to happen. So that's why I'm fighting on the state level on that for the Mystic bill, but then on the federal level, I'm working on the farm plan.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you for that. Can you say, I know we were talking before, you said that in the farm bill, the number one is the mystic. So
That's
can you
right.
say what's in there so people can understand that as well?
Yeah, so in my farm plan, number one, it's actually not the Mystic bill. It just is labeled as stop weather modification because the Mystic
Okay.
bill is not a federal bill. The Mystic bill is a state bill.
Okay.
And then you just goes down through there. Acquiring land is one of the next steps. We've had 146% increase in foreign owned farmland in America since 2013. And let's face it, they're buying these ranches and farms up as fast as it can go. China's a big one. Russia's a big one. And the Packers, Smithfield Foods is owned by China. They butcher about 60% of all the meat in the United States of America. So what you have to understand is taking possession of these foreign-owned lands is critical in order to recrank the agrarian farmer in America.
Wow.
And then the farm plan gets more in the detail, and folds on out. But that's the gist of it is the government does it. It's called a war plan. You develop the farm corps, and the farm corps will be like the Army Corps of Engineers. People literally go into boot camp. They have to go through that. Farming is hard. Now I will say that I'm working with a private sector group as well that want to launch my farm plan on a smaller scale. I'm working with them as well. I have a finalized meeting tonight with them. They're wanting to go ahead and crank this off and do this on a smaller scale, but you can go in and basically just look at if you go to my farm school is $2,000, but you can buy different parts of it at different times of the year. But my entire school is $2,000. I'm the old part of the row crop farmer. There are basically 4 types of agriculture. There's the gardener, the homesteader, the row crop farmer, and then there's giant ag. The row crop farmer is the one that has disappeared. We're the ones that are becoming extinct. And that is what made the nation strong, because a 40-acre farm can easily produce 500,000 pounds of food, easily. And so that's what I'm trying to bring back, is that small farm that is the old row crop farm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your work. And I will make sure that your link is in the show notes, and I will make sure that people go to your Instagram and go to Bryan to support that. And is there anything else that you want to share with people before we pause for today?
This is the main thing, folks. We've got to save this ranch. If we lose this ranch, can you imagine what the rest of the ranchers and farmers across America will think? If you lose the ranch that is the advisor to RFK and the rancher that had flipped the dietary guidelines, something is nefarious going on, folks.
Right.
Just saying. And that I know that it'll be very, very detrimental to the mindset of the rest of the ranchers and the farmers in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm imagining that Bobby, is doing what he can within there, because I understand that, just the goals that he's had and the things that he would like to have happen. I know that there can be a lot of resistance to that. So
that's right.
I'm sure that he's supporting as much as he can. So thank you.
And you can just go to Out of Wild 3D on my Instagram and just click on the story there. The link's there, and it'll take you right to his page. And I'll tell you something. RFK is a good guy. He is.
I agree.
You got a lot of opposition up there, but he's helping us.
He is steadfast and unwavering in his vision. And so And I'm so grateful for you, Steve. Thank you for the work that you're doing and for being here. And I look forward to having more conversations, and I will make sure that everyone knows how to connect with you. So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for going to DC so many times. And I'll be right with you. So everybody, I am just really hopeful that you took notes and that you will listen to this again, that you will share this with your friends, with teachers, with all the people that you know, so that we can support both Steve and Bryan in going forward and supporting us. We really are interconnected, so we want to help each other. And for today, that is it. Remember that you are powerful beyond measure, loved beyond description, and a force for good in the world. So go forward and spread your magic. Bye for now.